This billionaire believed money could buy everything. So he rejected his unborn child. But now, his own life depends on that same daughter. Will she save him, or let him feel the pain he once gave her? Sit back and listen as we enter this emotional story. In the busy city of Lagos lived a man named Stephen. He was one of the richest men in the land. Stephen owned big construction companies, one in Lagos, another in Abuja. He drove the most expensive cars, lived in grand mansions with tall fences, and dined with the most powerful people. But behind all that wealth was a heart of stone. Stephen was proud and full of himself. He believed money could buy anything: respect, friendship, even health. Many times he would stand before his mirror and laugh. "What is family when I have wealth? What is love when I have power?" he would say. Stephen thought he needed no one. He believed nothing could ever humble him. But the elders always say, no matter how high a bird flies, one day it must come down to drink water. Many years earlier, Stephen met a simple village girl. She was kind, gentle, and honest. But when she became pregnant, Stephen looked down on her. "She's not good enough for my rich life," he said coldly. Then he left her. He turned his back on her and the unborn child. He walked away smiling, thinking he had escaped his duty. But what Stephen didn't know was this: the very life he was so proud of, the breath in his body, the beating of his heart, would one day depend on that same unborn child he had abandoned. The woman Stephen left behind was named Grace. She was 19 years old and still lived with her parents. Grace was their only child. From the day she was born, everyone in the village knew she was special. Her father was a respected man, honored by both elders and youth. Her mother was kind and full of wisdom. Because of her parents' strong faith, Grace grew up in love and discipline. She feared God and respected everyone, young and old. She was beautiful inside and out. Wherever she went, people would smile and say, "This girl is blessed. She's a light to her family." Her parents often called her a gift from heaven. Her mother always said, "My daughter, never let any man deceive you. Stay pure, walk with God, and you will never bring shame to this family." Grace would smile softly and reply, "Yes, Mother. I promise never to bring shame to you or to God." Grace truly lived by her name. She was gentle, humble, and peaceful. Her life was an example for everyone in the community. But the elders say, the brighter the light, the darker the shadow that follows it. Grace's beauty began to draw attention not only from people who admired her goodness, but also from men who carried evil desires in their hearts. And this is how a painful story began between Grace and the proud billionaire. Years ago, Stephen got a royal contract from a powerful king. He was chosen to build a grand mansion for the king's only son. Stephen arrived with his workers, and soon, the sound of hammers filled the land under the hot sun. One quiet morning, while his workers labored, Stephen decided to drive around the village. He wanted to see the land and its people. As his car rolled down the dusty road, his eyes caught sight of a young woman. It was Grace. She was returning from the stream, balancing a bucket of water on her head. The sun touched her face, and even with her simple wrapper and bare feet, she looked like a shining star. Her calm steps and dignity carried a beauty that money could never buy. Stephen slowed his car and rolled down his window. "Hello, beautiful," he called. "Can I help you?" But Grace kept walking, her eyes straight ahead. She said nothing. Stephen frowned. He wasn't used to being ignored. "Hey, I'm talking to you. Don't you hear me?" he shouted. Still, Grace gave no reply. She moved quietly, her steps steady, her eyes fixed on her path. Surprised, Stephen drove beside her. "I am Stephen," he said. Grace pressed her lips together. She did not stop or turn her head. She walked straight to her family compound, opened the gate, and entered. Stephen sat in his car, shocked. His pride burned. No one had ever rejected him. Women in the city begged for his attention. Even rich men bowed to his wealth. But here, in a small village, a simple girl had dared to ignore him. He smiled bitterly, turned his car around, and drove away. Yet, he could not forget her face. "The game has just begun," he muttered. The next day, Grace's mother called her. "My daughter, take this basket to the market. Buy food for dinner. Your father will soon return." "Yes, mother," Grace said gently and left. As she walked along the narrow path, she saw a car approaching. Her heart skipped. It was him, the rich stranger. She wanted to hide, but it was too late. Stephen had seen her. His eyes lit up with excitement. Grace quickened her pace. "I must hurry," she thought. "Mother is waiting." But Stephen drove closer. She refused to look at him. After some distance, she grew tired of being followed. She stopped, needing peace. Stephen stepped out of his car and smiled. "I'm Stephen," he said softly. Grace looked at him briefly. "I am Grace," she replied. "Why treat me this way?" Stephen asked. "I just want to talk." Grace stood quietly, eyes lowered. Stephen took a deep breath. "Listen, Grace. I don't want you as a girlfriend. I want you as my wife. I'm serious." The words hung in the air. Grace's heart trembled, but she said nothing. "Think about it," Stephen continued. "I mean no harm." After a long silence, Grace whispered, "I have heard you, but I have nothing to say now." Stephen nodded. "Take your time." Grace turned to leave. Stephen called again. "Where are you going?" "To the market," she replied. "Then let me drive you," Stephen offered. "It'll be easier." Grace shook her head. "No. Thank you. Please. I mean well," Stephen said. Grace gripped her basket. "I said no. I'll walk. Thank you." She walked away, her steps steady and firm. Stephen stood by his car, frustrated yet drawn to her even more. He watched her walk away, wondering why she was so different. And at that moment, Stephen made a silent vow. "This girl, I must have her." But Grace's heart was strong. She continued to the market. An hour later, she returned home with her basket full. She cooked dinner and served her parents. Yet, as she worked, her mind kept wandering to Stephen. His calm voice, the way he looked at her, stayed in her thoughts. No one in the village had ever called her beautiful like he did. No man had spoken to her with such gentleness. Even though she walked away, his words echoed in her heart. As she sat quietly after dinner, she smiled. "Maybe he's different," she thought. "He seems kind. Could he bring honor to my parents?" But Grace kept these thoughts hidden. She told no one. Later that evening, she went to fetch water. The cool breeze touched her face as she filled her bucket. On her way back, she saw a car coming down the road. Her heart raced. It was Stephen again. She wanted to turn away, but it was too late. Stephen stopped and got out quickly. He came to her and gently lifted the bucket from her head. For the first time, Grace looked into his eyes. Her voice trembled. "Please," she said, "don't hurt me. You're the first man I've allowed close to me. If I trust you, don't disappoint me." Stephen placed a hand on his chest. "Grace," he said softly, "I promise I'll never hurt you. If you give me a chance, I'll love and honor you." Grace stood silent, her heart beating fast. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to hope. "When can I see you again?" Stephen asked. "I want to celebrate you. You're special, Grace." She lowered her eyes. "Maybe tomorrow, during the youth celebration," she said. Stephen smiled. "Okay," he whispered. They agreed to meet the next day. He placed the bucket back on her head, and she walked home carrying not just water, but a secret that would change her life forever. The next morning, the village came alive for the youth celebration. It was a day of joy, dancing, singing, laughter everywhere. Grace stood before her mirror, wearing her best clothes. Her beauty was pure and bright. "Mother, I'll be back soon," she said, hugging her mom. "Go well, my daughter," her mother smiled. "Enjoy yourself." At the same time, Stephen was already planning. He knew she would come that way. He parked his black SUV quietly and waited. Minutes later, Grace appeared, walking with her small handbag. From afar, she saw the black car. Her heart skipped. She knew it was him. For a brief moment, she smiled, then quickly looked away and walked faster. Stephen's eyes lit up as he saw her. He started the engine and drove toward her. Within a minute, he caught up and stopped the car. Stephen stepped out of the car and walked quickly to her. Without hesitation, he hugged her tightly, a wide smile on his face. "You look so beautiful, Grace," he said softly. Grace's cheeks grew warm. "Thank you, Mr. Stephen," she whispered. Her voice shook as she continued. "I feel scared, but I want to trust you. You say you're a good man. You are the first man I've ever hugged. Please don't disappoint me. When I see you or your car, my heart beats fast. I don't know if it's fear or love, but I feel safe with you." Stephen placed a hand on his chest and nodded. "Yes, Grace. You are safe with me." Grace smiled gently and hugged him again. 5. Then she looked straight into his eyes. "If you truly mean it," she said softly, "you must meet my parents." Stephen smiled with confidence. "That's not a problem. I'll visit them soon. I give you my word." Grace's heart softened. She finally trusted him. She hugged him tighter, holding on to that innocent hope. Stephen gently led her to his car. "Come, let me drive you," he said warmly. And under the bright village sun, he drove away with Grace, the young woman who believed she was safe in his hands, not knowing danger waited ahead. A few minutes later, Stephen slowed the car and stopped before a house. Grace looked at him with surprise, her heart skipping. "Stephen," she asked quietly, "why are we stopping here?" Stephen gave a calm smile. "This is the house the king gave me," he said, "so I can stay here while I build the prince's mansion. I just wanted you to see it, so you'll know where I live." He paused, then leaned closer, his voice soft. "And besides, I want us to celebrate this new beginning. Let's go inside, have some juice, and toast to our future." His voice sounded gentle, almost romantic. Grace's innocent heart believed him. She nodded slowly, not knowing this moment would mark the beginning of her greatest sorrow. Stephen parked and opened her door. Hand in hand, they walked into the house. Grace sat quietly on the couch, looking around with curiosity. She didn't know Stephen already had a plan. Before coming to get her, he had mixed a sleeping substance inside the juice in his fridge. Stephen walked to the fridge and brought out a new carton of juice and 2 glasses. With a smile, he opened it, poured her drink, and handed it to her. "Here's your juice, my love," he said softly. Grace accepted it without doubt. She trusted every word he had spoken, every promise he had made. She lifted the glass and drank, her heart filled with hope and love. But she didn't know the man she trusted was about to betray her. As they sat together, Stephen spoke calmly. "You see, Grace, the king brought me here to build a mansion for his son. That's why I came to this village. But today isn't about work. Today is about you. You are special to me, Grace. I want us to build a strong future together." Grace lowered her head shyly, her heart beating fast. But before she could smile, her hands began to tremble. Her head felt heavy. "Stephen, I don't feel well," she whispered weakly. Stephen quickly rushed to her side, pretending to care. He touched her arm gently. "You're just tired, my love. Rest for a while." Grace's eyes grew heavy. Her body weakened as the drug spread through her veins. Slowly, she drifted into sleep, believing Stephen would protect her. But Stephen's heart was full of darkness. When he saw she was unconscious, he carried her to the bed. And in that moment of weakness, he betrayed her completely. Hours later, Grace stirred. Her head pounded. Her body felt strange. She opened her eyes slowly and whispered, How did I get on this bed?" Her voice shook as she lifted the blanket slightly. Her eyes widened in horror. Tears filled her eyes as her chest tightened. She realized Stephen had done something terrible. No. No. Stephen, what have you done to me?" she cried, bitterly. Tears flowed freely. The evening sun shone through the window. But Grace's world was dark. Her trust, her peace, her innocence, all destroyed. Stephen stood by the table holding a large envelope. Inside were money and his business card. He placed it beside her and said coldly, "Use this to take care of yourself. I'm sorry." Grace lifted her tearful eyes, her voice breaking. "Is this what you think of me? Money, Stephen? I will never forgive you." Stephen said nothing. He turned and walked out, leaving Grace broken. Moments later, Grace walked home slowly, tears streaming down her face. She hid the envelope in her handbag, her heart full of pain and shame. "My spirit warned me," she whispered. "I should have listened." Now she knew the truth. Stephen never loved her. But she could not tell her mother. She carried her pain in silence. 4 weeks later, Grace sat alone, holding her stomach. Her face was pale, her eyes full of fear. "Oh Lord," she whispered. "I've missed my monthly time. I hope it's not what I think." The thought tormented her. The next morning, she decided to find Stephen. She went to the house where he once stayed. But when she arrived, he was gone. The neighbors said he had left days ago. Grace's heart sank. She turned back home, sadness written on her face. 2 weeks later, early in the morning, Grace tried to fetch water. Suddenly, she bent over, holding her stomach. She felt weak and sick. Her mother saw her and asked with concern, "Grace, are you all right?" Grace forced a smile. "Yes, Mother. I'm fine," she said weakly. But as soon as her mother walked away, Grace broke down in tears. She sat on the floor, holding her head. "What's happening to me?" she whispered bitterly. Minutes later, she went to the stream. Sitting quietly on a stone, she cried, "Lord, forgive me," she whispered. "Stephen never loved me. What have I done?" Meanwhile, her mother entered Grace's room to clean. As she folded her daughter's clothes, a brown envelope fell from the wardrobe. Curious, she opened it. Inside was money and a business card with Stephen's name. Her eyes widened. She sat down, trembling. "What is my daughter hiding?" she whispered. When Grace returned from the stream, her mother waited by the door, eyes full of questions. "Grace," she said firmly, "what are you hiding from me?" Grace froze. Before she could answer, she dropped her bucket and ran to the corner, vomiting. Her mother rushed to her. "Grace, tell me the truth. Are you pregnant?" Grace fell to her knees, crying. "Mother, I'm sorry. I was deceived by a man I trusted." Her mother's voice trembled. "Deceived?" "Yes, Mama," Grace sobbed. "He promised to marry me. He gave me a drink that made me weak. When I woke up, everything was gone. I'm so sorry." Her mother knelt beside her, weeping. "Oh, Grace, why didn't you tell me? Why suffer alone?" "I was afraid," Grace cried. "I thought you'd hate me." That afternoon, her mother took her to the village clinic. The doctor examined her carefully, then sighed. "Madam," he said softly, "your daughter is pregnant." Grace covered her face and cried. Her mother held her close, heartbroken, knowing their lives had changed forever. That night, when Grace's father came home, the house was silent. After dinner, her mother sat beside him, her hands shaking. My husband, she whispered. Grace is pregnant. Her father froze. His eyes widened with shock. What did you say? He thundered. Pregnant? Grace for who? Grace trembled and fell to her knees. Father, I was deceived. A man promised to marry me. I believed him. Who is the man? Her father shouted. Tell me now. Stephen, Grace whispered, her voice breaking. The engineer building the prince's house. Her father's eyes flamed with rage. Stephen? He repeated. A stranger? Grace wept bitterly. He gave me a drink. It made me weak. He took advantage of me. Please forgive me. Her father stood up in anger, his voice shaking the house. Grace, you have brought shame on my name. I give you 2 market days. Bring this man here or leave my house. No, father, please, Grace cried, reaching toward him. Where will I go? But her father turned away and slammed his door. Grace fell flat on the floor, weeping. What have I done? My father hates me, she cried. She remembered her mother's words. Never trust any man. But it was too late. That night, she sat alone, thinking. Then she remembered the envelope Stephen gave her. She opened her wardrobe, pulled it out, and tore it open. Inside was 200,000 naira and a business card. Her eyes widened. So this is what I kept all this time, she whispered through tears. She held the money tightly. Maybe this can help me find him. Father gave me only 2 days. I must go. Her heart felt heavy. That night, she made her decision to find Stephen. Early the next morning, while the village still slept, Grace packed her bag. She looked around her room one last time. Goodbye, Mother. Forgive me, she whispered, tears in her eyes. Then she slipped out of the house. At the market park, she boarded a bus to Lagos. Hours later, her mother went to check on her and found the room empty. At first, she thought Grace went to the stream, but when she didn't return, fear filled her heart. She ran to her husband. My husband! Grace is gone, she cried. Her clothes are missing. She's nowhere to be found. Her husband froze, pale and silent. Oh my God, her mother cried, falling to her knees. Where has she gone? Her father finally spoke, his voice heavy. She has chosen her path. Let her go. But deep inside, as he tried to be strong, his heart was breaking. And so, Grace left her home behind, walking into an uncertain future. She carried only her tears, her shame, and the envelope holding money and pain. By 8 p.m., Grace arrived in Lagos. With her small bag on her head, she stood at the noisy bus station, staring at the strange city. Cars honked, traders shouted, and the streets swarmed with people. For the first time in her life, she felt truly lost. Her stomach growled. Hunger hit her hard. Slowly, she walked through the busy street, searching for food. She found a small roadside cellar with a wooden table and a dim lamp. Good evening, Ma, Grace said softly, placing her bag down. Please give me some rice. The woman smiled kindly. How much do you want, my daughter? Grace opened her handbag with shaking hands. She paid, took the plate, and sat on a bench. She ate slowly, as tears filled her eyes. She thought of her parents and wondered if they knew she was gone. When she finished, she wiped her face and looked at the woman. She brought out Stephen's business card. With hope in her eyes, she asked, Please, Ma, do you know this address? The woman studied the card and nodded. Yes, I know it. It's not far from here. Enter a taxi, and they will drop you there. Grace's heart leapt. She smiled faintly. Thank you, Ma. Thank you so much. She waved down a taxi, entered, and showed the driver the card. The man nodded and said, I know the place. Grace clutched her bag tightly, her heart full of fear and hope. When the taxi arrived, night had grown deep. She stood before a tall, imposing gate, higher than anything she had seen. With trembling hands, she knocked. A security guard opened the gate halfway. He looked her over. Suspicious. Who are you looking for, and what is your name? Grace swallowed hard. I am Grace. I come from Ugato village. Please. I am looking for Stephen. The guard raised his brows. Wait here, he said, shutting the gate. He walked into the mansion. He approached Stephen, who sat at the dining table with a glass of wine. Sir, a young lady is at the gate, he said. She says her name is Grace. She comes from Ugato village. Stephen froze for a moment. Then his face twisted with anger. Grace from Ugato village? He repeated. Yes, sir, the guard replied. Stephen's eyes turned cold. I don't know anyone called Grace. And listen carefully. If you let any stranger in here, you'll lose your job. The guard nodded and returned to the gate. He opened it slightly. Face hard. My boss said he doesn't know you. Leave now before I chase you out. Grace's eyes widened in shock. Please, she begged, voice breaking. Tell him it's Grace. He knows me. Please, tell him again. But the guard shouted, I said leave now. He slammed the gate and locked it. Grace stood frozen. Tears rolled down her face. Oh God, even Stephen has rejected me, she whispered. She turned slowly, feet weak and chest heavy. She walked back through the quiet Lago street, not knowing where to go. After minutes of wandering, she waved a taxi and returned to the food place. The street was quiet. Beside the woman's shop, an empty space waited, dark and cold. Grace sat there, hugging her bag tightly. She remembered Stephen's sweet words and bright promises. All were lies, she whispered, as tears poured down her face. Her body grew weak. Her tears dried as she leaned against the wall. On that cold, lonely Lagos street, Grace drifted into sleep, homeless, rejected, and broken. An hour later, the food seller served her last customer and began closing. As she turned to pack her things, she saw someone lying on the cold ground near a locked shop. She stepped closer, shocked. Who is this girl? She wondered. Does she have no parents? No place to stay? Her heart grew heavy. She did not realize it was the same young lady who asked for Stephen's address. Quietly, she walked closer. She bent down and tapped the girl gently. Hello, young lady, she said softly. Grace stirred and opened her eyes slowly. She jumped up in fear, her heart beating fast. She thought she had done something wrong. The woman raised her hand calmly. Stay calm, my daughter. Tell me, why are you here? Why sleep in an open place? Don't you know it is dangerous? Grace lowered her head, ashamed. With a broken voice, she said, My name is Grace. I come from Ugato village. A man promised to marry me, then rejected me. I have nowhere to go. That's why I slept here. Tomorrow, I will find another way. The woman heard the tremble in Grace's voice, and her heart softened. She lifted Grace by the hand. Don't worry, my daughter, she said gently. Stand up, take your bag, come with me. You cannot sleep here tonight. Grace looked up, surprised. You want to help me? She asked, voice shaking. Yes, my daughter, the woman replied firmly. You are not safe here. Come, let's go home. Slowly, Grace stood. Her tears flowed again, this time from relief. That night, a stranger showed her kindness. But far away, in a grand mansion, Stephen sat on his bed, restless. The guard's words echoed in his ears. A young lady named Grace. She comes from Ugato village. Stephen stared at the ceiling. What is she doing here? How did she find my house? He muttered. He forgot he had given her money and his business card. His chest tightened as his thoughts grew darker. I already gave her money, he told himself. I owe her nothing. He did not know. Their last meeting had not ended, as he believed. He did not realize his actions had planted a dangerous seed. Still, his heart remained hard. To Stephen, Grace was a village girl who could be bought with cash. To him, everything was about money. But one name refused to leave his mind. Grace. Grace now lived with the kind woman who rescued her that painful night. From that day, the woman treated Grace like her own daughter. Every morning, Grace followed her to the small food shop. They sold rice, beans, and soup to workers in Lagos. Grace washed plates, cleaned tables, and served food to customers. Her stomach was heavy with pregnancy, yet she worked with quiet joy. At least she had shelter, kindness, and daily bread. One morning, as Grace bent to lift a pot of water, pain shot through her belly. She placed a hand on her stomach and cried out. The woman rushed to her side. "My daughter, stop! You are in your last month. You must not do heavy work." Grace shook her head gently and tried to smile. "Mama, please let me help. I don't want to sit at home. I feel safer here with you than staying alone." The woman touched her shoulder and smiled softly. "All right, my daughter, but be careful. I don't want anything to happen to you. Tomorrow, we must go to the hospital for a proper checkup. You need strength for the child you carry." From that day, Grace felt a peace she had missed for months. For the first time since Stephen betrayed her, she felt a mother's love again. No more crying at night. At last, someone truly cared for her. The next day, the woman took Grace to the hospital. The doctor examined her and smiled. "Your baby is healthy," he said. "You have only 1 month left." Grace breathed out in relief. She smiled for the first time in a long while. "Thank you, Mama. Thank you for everything." They returned home happy. But later that night, as Grace lay in bed, her thoughts drifted home. She remembered her mother's kind face and her father's stern voice. Guilt swept through her heart. She whispered into the dark, "Mother, Father, forgive me." 1 month later, in the deep night, Grace woke with sharp pains. She clutched her belly and cried out, voice trembling. The woman rushed in and found Grace struggling to take a step. She held her stomach and waist, breathing hard. "My daughter, what is it?" the woman asked. Fear rising. Grace groaned, eyes wide with tears. "Mama, I think it's time. The pain is too much. Please help me." The woman's hands trembled, but she stayed strong. She tied a wrapper around her waist and ran outside for a taxi. She found one quickly. She helped Grace to the car, whispering, "You will be fine." The driver sped through the quiet night. Grace leaned on the woman's shoulder, groaning in pain. At the hospital, nurses rushed out and carried Grace into the labor room. The woman waited in reception, praying. Minutes later, a newborn's cry filled the ward. Grace, weak but smiling, looked at the tiny life in her arms. A beautiful baby girl. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "Thank you, Lord," she whispered. "My child is here." Moments later, the old woman entered, glowing with joy. With tears of happiness, she cried, "God, I thank you. My daughter is safe, and this little angel is here." Grace smiled weakly. "Mama, she is my happiness. She brought joy into my life," she said, smiling at her baby. The woman touched Grace's head gently. "My daughter, she will grow and bring even more light." Days passed, and Grace recovered quickly. The woman paid all hospital bills, and soon they were discharged. As Grace carried her baby home, peace filled the small house. Her heart overflowed with gratitude. A month later, Grace sat in the corner, dressing her baby in tiny clothes the woman bought. Her eyes shone with quiet joy. The woman noticed her smile and asked, "My daughter, what makes you so happy today?" Grace looked down at baby Sophia and spoke softly. "Mama, I want to write a letter to Stephen. He should know I have given birth. Despite what he did, this child is his. I think it is wise to tell him." The woman nodded slowly. "You are wise, my daughter." A child should not be hidden. Let the father know the truth, even if he refuses it. That evening, Grace took a pen and paper. With trembling hands, she wrote, "Stephen, I have given birth to your daughter. I am not writing to trouble you, but I thought you should know. She is healthy, and I pray you will see her one day." The next morning, Grace folded the letter neatly. She left Sophia behind with the old woman and hurried out. She rushed to deliver the letter to Stephen. At the gate, she knocked. The security guard opened. Grace handed him the letter quietly. "Please, sir, give this to Stephen. It's very important." The guard studied her face and remembered. "You again? The young lady from Ugato village?" "Yes," Grace said calmly. "Please, just give it to him." She walked away slowly, her heart beating fast. An hour later, Stephen stepped out of the house. The guard approached and spoke. "Sir, that same lady came and left this letter." Stephen frowned, took it, and opened it. His eyes ran across the words. His face hardened. He whispered, "A child, she says. She gave birth. No, no. That can't be true." He crushed the letter in his fist, anger flashing. "She wants to trap me. Tie me down with a child. Never." He went back inside, breathing heavily. Yet his heart found no peace. Grace's words echoed again and again. She gave birth. No, it can't be true, he whispered. Still, he refused to believe. Years passed, and Grace grew stronger with her daughter, Sophia. The kind old woman who sheltered them fell sick. Her children came to take her for treatment. Before leaving, the woman held Grace's hands. "Take care of yourself, my daughter. Take care of Sophia. You two are my family now." Tears filled Grace's eyes. "Mama, I will never forget your kindness." After she left, the small house felt empty. Grace stood in the quiet room and whispered, "God, help me. I must carry this burden alone." Every morning, she kept selling food at the same shop. Business was good, and people loved her humble smile. But every night, while counting money, she remembered the woman's kindness and felt heavy. One afternoon, 10-year-old Sophia came from school. She dropped her bag and ran into her mother's arms at the roadside shop. After eating, she looked at Grace and asked softly, "Mom, where is my dad? Grandma always said he traveled. Why hasn't he returned?" Grace froze, her hands trembling. She forced a small smile. "Don't worry, my daughter. I'll tell you everything later. For now, focus on your studies." Years moved quickly. Sophia grew into a bright, gentle child. She was kind like her mother and loved helping people. From a young age, she said, "Mom, I'll be a doctor someday. I will treat people." Grace worked hard every day at the shop. She saved every coin to pay Sophia's school fees. When Sophia gained admission to the university, Grace cried for joy. She held her daughter's hands tightly. "Make me proud, my child," she said through tears. Sophia smiled and wiped her mother's eyes. "I promise, Mom, I will make you proud." Years later, Sophia graduated with first-class honors. She became a doctor at a respected private hospital in Lagos. Everyone loved her for her skill and humble heart. Meanwhile, Stephen's life turned bitter. Years after abandoning Grace and rejecting her child, he married a much younger woman. She never loved him, her eyes fixed on his wealth. For a while, she acted like a devoted wife, but in truth, she only counted benefits. When Stephen's health failed, and doctors confirmed kidney problems, fear entered her heart. She knew he might ask for a kidney someday. Sacrifice was not part of her plan. She quietly gathered money and valuables. One morning, she disappeared without a word. Stephen was left broken. His few friends drifted away, avoiding his pain. The mansion grew silent and cold. Only his sickness remained. One morning, Stephen collapsed in his house. The gatekeeper rushed him to the hospital. After several tests, doctors confirmed kidney failure. He needed a transplant. That same day, fate moved in a strange way. The doctor assigned to Stephen was Sophia, the daughter he had abandoned before birth. Wearing her white coat, she entered the room with her file. She looked calm and confident. "Good afternoon, sir," she said gently. Stephen turned his head slowly. His eyes met hers and he froze. Her voice, her eyes, her smile struck his heart. They reminded him of a woman he once betrayed. His lips trembled. What is your name?" he whispered. Sophia offered a kind smile. "My name is Dr. Sophia." Stephen's heart pounded. His body shook. "Nice name," he muttered. Deep inside, fear spread through his soul. Could this young doctor be tied to his past? Meanwhile, as Sophia treated him, her mind felt uneasy. The name on his file disturbed her deeply. It held 3 names: Stephen, Jacob, Carlu. She froze for a moment. Those were the exact names her mother mentioned for her father. Sophia whispered in her heart. "But Mom said, my father died before I was born. Could this be the same man? Or just a rare case of identical names?" That evening, after a long shift, Sophia came home tired. She sat with her mother at the dining table. "Mom," she said casually, chewing slowly, "we received a patient today. His name is Stephen Jacob Koo." Grace's spoon slipped slightly. She quickly picked it up and forced a smile. "My daughter, Lagos is a very big city. Sometimes people share the same name. It's just a rare case. My, 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 my. Sophia nodded, thinking nothing of it. "That's true, Mom. I didn't imagine anything else. I just remembered you once said that name. But since you told me my father is late, I didn't think much." Grace's heart sank, but her face stayed calm. She laughed lightly. "Yes, my child. Don't worry yourself." They finished eating, and Sophia went to rest. But that night, Grace could not sleep. She turned from side to side, heavy with fear. "What if it's him?" she whispered. "What if the man my daughter saw is truly Stephen?" Memories flooded back. How he ruined her youth, abandoned her, and left her to raise Sophia alone. Grace pressed her hand to her chest and sighed deeply. "I lied to my daughter," she thought. "I said her father was gone. I wanted to protect her from pain. He did not deserve her love. But what if life brings them together again?" She stared at the ceiling, eyes wet with tears. "Lagos holds millions," she whispered. "I told myself they would never meet. Now, I am no longer sure." That night, she prayed in silence, torn between fear and the hidden truth. The next morning, Sophia checked on her patient, Mr. Stephen Jacob Kalu. His health was failing fast. His eyes were weak, and his body had grown thin. Sophia sat gently by the bed and spoke calmly. "Sir, the truth is clear. Your kidneys are failing. To survive, you need someone willing to donate. Please, is there anyone, maybe family, you can call?" Stephen shook his head slowly. His lips trembled. "I have no one. I was an only child. My parents died long ago. My wife left when she learned I was very sick. She said she couldn't stay with a man without strength. Friends, the few I had, disappeared when they learned about this illness," he added with a weak smile. "I suppose they knew I would need a donor. So they left early." Tears filled his eyes as he looked at Sophia. "My dear, don't worry about me. I accept my fate. I'm in my late 50s. If it's time, let it be." My only regret is never having a child to carry my name. I chased wealth. I thought money was enough. Now I know my father would be disappointed, even in his grave." Tears slid down his face. Sophia's heart broke, but she stayed strong as a doctor. "Sir, please stay strong. Miracles can happen," she said softly. She stood to leave and opened the door, only to find her mother standing there. "Mom, what are you doing here?" She frowned. "You didn't say you were coming. How did you get in?" Grace stepped forward, eyes restless. "I told the receptionist it was an emergency," she said quickly, brushing past her daughter. Her heart had not rested since hearing that name. She needed to see the truth herself. The moment Grace entered, her eyes met Stephen's. Both froze. Their mouths opened at once. With shaking voices, they spoke each other's names. "Stephen?" Grace breathed. "Grace!" Stephen croaked, voice weak. Sophia stared between them in shock. "Wait, you both know each other?" she asked, trembling. Silence filled the room. Grace's chest rose and fell. Tears gathered in her eyes. Sophia pressed on, voice sharp with confusion. "Mom, I hope it's not what I'm thinking." Grace lowered her head and nodded slowly, tears rolling. "Yes, my daughter. This is the man I told you about. The man who ruined my life." Sophia's voice cracked. "But Mom, you told me. You told me he was—" Grace cut in, voice breaking. "I lied. I wanted to protect you from this wicked man. He abandoned me and left me to suffer while carrying you." Sophia's mouth fell open, hands trembling. She looked at Stephen, then back at her mother. Stephen could not hold back his tears. They streamed down both sides of his face. He lay helpless on the bed, unable to move. Grace's voice shook with pain and anger. "Look at yourself. See how you lie there like paper. The almighty Stephen, the man who thought money could buy everything. Where is your power now? Where are your riches now?" Her words cut like a knife. Unable to stay longer, Grace turned and rushed out, eyes flooding. The old wound tore open again. Sophia stood frozen, her mind in turmoil. She looked at her patient, the man she treated with care, and realized he abandoned her mother. He was the same man she believed was long gone. Her heart pounded, torn between duty as a doctor and pain as a daughter. That evening, after they reached home, Grace sat quietly in the living room. Her eyes were red from crying. The weight of the day pressed hard upon her. Sophia came out from her room and sat beside her mother. "Mom," she said softly, "I know why you hid the truth. You wanted to protect me. I understand your pain. But saying my father was long gone was too much." Grace lowered her head in shame, her hands trembling. "My daughter, I am sorry. I thought it would save you from questions. I was wrong." Sophia gently took her mother's hands and held them tightly. "Mom, listen to me. Nothing you could do would make me hate you. Your sacrifices outweigh any mistake. You gave up your youth for me. You carried me when no one stood by you. You are my hero, Mom." Tears rolled down Grace's cheeks, mixed with relief. She smiled faintly through her tears. "My daughter, you speak with so much love. But there is one more truth. It is time you know it." Sophia's heart skipped. "What is it, Mom?" she asked quickly. Grace sighed deeply, her voice breaking. "You have grandparents. My parents are alive, far away in the village. I left after my father gave me an ultimatum. He said I must bring the man who got me pregnant within 2 market days. Otherwise, I must leave his house forever. I searched for Stephen. When he rejected me and shut his doors, I could not return. I was ashamed and afraid. So I stayed in Lagos. That was when the old woman found me and became our mother." Sophia's eyes widened as she listened. Her voice shook. "So, Mom, I had grandparents all these years?" Grace nodded slowly. "Yes, my daughter. I should have told you. but I felt I lost the right to go back. I carried my pain in silence. Sophia held her mother tightly and whispered, "Mom, you carried too much alone. I am grown now. Whatever remains, we face it together." Grace closed her eyes and leaned against her daughter. For the first time in years, a weight lifted from her heart. But later that night, Sophia's mind was troubled. So much revealed in one day, she whispered. "About my father. About my grandparents. What else don't I know?" The night felt heavy and quiet. Both mother and daughter knew their story wasn't over. The next morning, Stephen lay weak in his hospital bed, staring upward. Now, he knew he truly had a daughter. Regret burned inside him. With trembling hands, he called his lawyer. "Prepare a document," Stephen said softly. "Bring it here for me to sign. No one must know the content. Only you and I." The lawyer agreed. A few days later, he arrived with a brown envelope. Stephen signed slowly, tears in his eyes. The paper's words remained a secret between them. Meanwhile, Sophia could not rest. She asked management to assign another doctor to Stephen. She wanted to avoid him and block painful memories. Yet her mind would not let him go. In her heart, she pictured a complete family, a mother, a father, and the grandparents she now knew. 2 weeks passed. Stephen's health grew worse. His body was weak, his skin pale, his eyes dim. Grace and Sophia had not visited since their last meeting. Their anger cooled, but the wound still bled quietly. One quiet evening, Sophia returned from work and entered the small room. Grace was sewing by the table. Sophia sat beside her, silent for a moment. Then she spoke with a trembling voice. "Mom, I have thought deeply. I cannot sleep. I have decided what to do." Grace looked up sharply, hands frozen. "Do what?" she asked, fear in her voice. Sophia swallowed hard, tears filling her eyes. "I want to donate my kidney to him." Grace jumped to her feet in shock. "Over my dead body," she cried. "Never. I will never allow that." "Share your life with a man who never cared? The same man who abandoned me in shame? I will not watch you do this." She paced the floor, crying and yelling, her wrapper shaking. "Mom, please," Sophia pleaded, holding her gently. "Stop. We don't have to be like him. If we let him die, we become no better." Grace pulled away, tears pouring down her face. "So Stephen eats his cake and keeps it? After pain and shame? God, is this fair?" Sophia's voice shook, but she stood firm. "Mom, it isn't about him. It is about us. I cannot carry hatred in my heart. I want to save him. Not because he deserves it. Because love must be stronger than hate." Grace broke down, covering her face with both hands. She cried bitterly. Sophia held her and whispered, "Mom, please let me do this. I want to save him." The room fell into heavy silence. Grace's heart battled pain and fear. Sophia's heart battled duty and love. That night, no one slept. The next day, Stephen received the message. One of the doctors had offered a kidney. Her name was Sophia. Stephen's body shook when he heard it. Tears filled his eyes. He knew without being told. She was his daughter. The child he rejected before birth. The child he never carried, never fed, never raised. He covered his face and wept like a child. "Oh God," he cried. "How can she be the one to save me? I don't deserve this." He begged the nurse. "Please call her. I must see her." But Sophia refused. Her answer was firm. "I am not doing this for him. I refuse to let hate live in me. I will not see him." They set a date for surgery. On the morning of the operation, Grace insisted she would go. "I want to be there," she said. "I must know you are safe." Sophia agreed, and they left together. When they arrived, The atmosphere felt strange. People stood with folded arms and heavy faces. The hallway was too quiet. Nurses moved slowly, avoiding their eyes. Grace and Sophia exchanged worried looks. Something was wrong. Sophia ran down the hall to Stephen's room. The bed was empty. Her heart raced. She rushed to the doctor's office. "Where is he?" she demanded, voice shaking. The doctor stood slowly, face downcast. "I'm sorry, Dr. Sophia. We lost him this morning." Sophia's whole body went weak. Her head felt heavy. She walked back slowly to her mother. Grace stood quickly. "My daughter. What happened? Where is he?" Sophia's lips trembled. Her eyes filled with tears. "He's gone, Mom," she whispered. "He is gone." They held each other and cried in the corridor. Grace stroked her back. "It's all right, my daughter. You tried your best. You were ready to give him life. God has seen your heart." Sophia cried louder in her mother's arms. She could not name the pain inside. Was it grief, pity, or the ache of a missing word, Father? 2 weeks after Stephen's passing, Sophia received a call. A man introduced himself as Stephen's lawyer. His voice was calm but serious. "Doctor." "Sophia," he said. "Before Mr. Stephen died, he signed documents. He asked me to deliver a message to you and your mother. He willed everything he owned to both of you. His companies, houses, and wealth now belong to you and your mother." Sophia froze. "What did you say?" she asked, voice trembling. The lawyer repeated his words. "All his property and businesses now belong to you both." That was his last wish. Sophia dropped the phone and covered her face. "Mom," she whispered. "After all the pain and rejection, he left everything to us." Grace stood quietly, eyes wet with tears. "Life turns things around, my daughter. But remember, money cannot replace years of pain. We will use this gift wisely." Their lives changed forever. They no longer struggled. Sophia was already doing well. But this was different. Yet the greatest change was the lesson learned. Pain can become blessing in unexpected ways. Not long after, Grace said it was time to return home. Sophia agreed. Together, they traveled to see Grace's parents. When they arrived, the old couple could hardly believe their eyes. Grace's mother embraced her tightly, weeping. Grace broke down in tears. "Father, I am sorry I left without telling you. I was young and afraid, but God kept me. This is my daughter, Doctor. Sophia. The child I thought would bring shame has become my greatest pride." Her father shook his head slowly. "No, my daughter. I should be sorry. I was too hard and blind with anger. Please forgive me." Grace held his hands and wept. "I forgave you long ago, Father. I only wanted your love." He turned to Sophia with trembling lips. "So you are a doctor now. The dream I wished for, Grace, I now see in you. You have brought honor to our family." That day, they ate, laughed, and cried together. A weight lifted from Grace's heart. For the first time in years, she felt whole. As the sun set over the quiet village, Sophia looked at her mother and grandparents. "This is a family," she said softly. "Not built on money, but on love and forgiveness." Grace smiled, her tears shining in the fading light. The story ended not with bitterness, but healing. The abandoned daughter became a savior. The rejected mother found peace. The broken family became whole again. Dear viewers, this story teaches a simple truth. Money, pride, and power may look strong, but they can never replace love, truth, and family. Stephen abandoned Grace and their child because of pride. In the end, that same child held the key to his life. Our choices carry consequences. The seed we plant today becomes tomorrow's harvest. What do you think, dear viewers? If you were Sophia, would you help the father who abandoned you? Share your thoughts in the comments. Another powerful story is coming soon. Please subscribe and turn on notifications. If you enjoyed this story, like and share it with friends. Thank you for watching. I truly appreciate you.